Because look, the spectacles through which we see things are heavily tainted by our trauma, our experiences, our education level, our rationality, so many things, right? Don't project that onto somebody else, even your own child.
Yeah. And I shared this, and I have a grandson now, my first grandson.
Oh, no, pleased for
and
you.
when I picked him up...
You're too young to have a grandson.
I'm 60 now. I'm 60, yeah. When I picked up my grandson, and he smiled instinctively in my face, I thought, my life has been worth living. And it says something,
that one
and
smile.
everybody would say in Islamic teaching as well, to live to see your children's children is one of the biggest blessings anyone can experience on this earth.
Now just imagine all those conversations he's had with Muslims,
No.
and so much he's had to absorb, but yet that one smile, it took away all that pain and all that...
No, you know what, that smile was almost like, if please God, I end up in heaven, that smile will be enough. And that when I see God smile, that's.
But I mean,
it was so beautiful.
If I ask you a question, I've seen you for a long time. I mean, I've been watching AF Dawah, SC Dawah for a long time, maybe 10 years. I've always wondered why are there. I mean, they're good Christians.
Please feel free
liberal
to say whatever
Christians.
you want.
You're very nice. I've seen you many times, and you're very you agree with most things Christians and Muslims, unite on. What is the pinnacle where you sort of disagree with Islam?
What's interesting?
Or what's stopping you?
When I came to the park
you probably
this morning,
know more than us Muslims about Islam.
That's a conversation that. How's the best way to even describe, even to begin to make you understand my position? Lots of people who come to this park, and I fall into that trap as well. There's an aggression and an energy that is contagious. And it can affect even someone who comes here and says, I'm going to have a lovely day, and they go away and they're sitting in the bus going home saying, and you know, it's almost like the opposite of what God wanted them to experience here happened to them. And my testimony, my personal reason why I am who I am would take a long time to unpack. And it may be, it is obviously subjective to everyone who hears it, but it's very objective to me and why I'm here now.
I can completely respect
And
that.
I've had 2 conversations with 2 young Muslims, because I'm very much want to share my concern about the LGBT and the transgender and all of these things. And I said to the Muslim there, I said, if I lose every single discussion, theological discussion in this park, but I can show you something that convinces you to pull your child out of the flames and that child goes to heaven, my visit to the park will have been worthwhile. So rather, now I don't directly engage in the theological discussions because so few of them are fruitful. And this is why I came here, I just wanted to listen. I wanted to hear, because I could see you were saying how you grew in your faith.
Yeah.
And I'm always excited by people who share that.
Yeah.
So I don't think I can answer it, because that will lead me down the route to, again, where we have a discussion.
Debate.
But what about this and what about this and what about this?
No. I wasn't going to debate you. Apologies.
No.
I was just curious, because the thing is, you see, but I think I don't want to comment on.
You can say whatever you want.
Look, I think
I don't explode.
I'll tell you.
Trust.
I'll give you my
Please
example.
do.
When I started working, right, initially, I wanted to switch jobs. This is a very
What do you do?
Example.
Can you tell me what you do?
I work in IT as a
funny. I
cloud,
thought you did.
yeah.
Go on. No, don't worry. Don't worry.
Glasses
Yeah, go.
or the face. So I wanted to change jobs initially and wanted more money, but then after a while, after a few years, I wanted stability, not change. Could it be that after a certain age, you kind of stop looking at, other, I wouldn't say options, but other faiths, and just focus on what you have and find more stability in it?
Well, you know what's funny?
Is that something?
Well, see, I come from my background would have been very disturbed, very atheistic. I thought the rationale for living was, outside of God, was to experience as many pleasures as possible, and they would generally speaking be carnal, and then I would die, and that I'd have had my life. But bit by bit, as I followed that rationale, the atheistic rationale, I could feel the weight on my spirit. intellectualize it or comprehend what was happening to me until it got to the point. I mean, I was exposed to paedophilia when I was about 7. I had some serious things that were shown to me. And this is why I have such an urgency to rescue other children from it. But the most important part was one dark night after being alcoholic, drug user, all of these things, I could feel an evil around me and inside me, and it was as black as anything. And I didn't know God, I didn't know any of the concepts of God, and I was going to kill myself or kill someone, become so defiled because my conscience incrementally was turned down bit by bit by bit until it didn't work. And at that moment, and looking back in hindsight, I was allowed to experience a time when I was this big playing in the garden as a child. And immediately I looked and I thought, I wasn't always this, I used to be that. And that gave me the hope that I could get back to that position. So I had to go radically. I was reading children's books. I was going right back to my childhood and cutting out anything bad, no violence,
so in
no
some
sex,
ways you sort of like...
had to rebuild myself.
You sort of relived your adolescence.
I had to go back down that warren.
To sort of rewrite your history, in effect.
Exactly.
It's quite an amazing thing to share, actually. Thank you.
Well, yeah, and this is why the urgency is, if young children are exposed to corruption at a young age, that will follow them and haunt them to their adult life until their deathbed. So
I've actually forgotten your name.
Yeah, Colin. What's your name again?
Abass. Sorry,
Abass.
I'm really bad with names.
Yeah, don't you worry.
But you know, Colin, that's really interesting what you've said.
Yeah.
And but if you actually look at Islam, if you look at Islam, Colin.
Yeah.
I think Islam probably protects that child from all of the things that you're talking
As
about.
a system.
And so, yes,
I agree with you.
and so much more. So, like, for example, even before your child is born, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he said, the rights of the child are that you find it a good mother. Do you see?
Yeah, no.
So the child is not even there yet.
Yeah.
You're not even married yet.
Yeah.
But you have to find a woman that's going to be a good mother to your children.
And that should be one of the highest priorities when searching for a life mate.
And I'm actually happy that we're having this conversation because, and I'm actually quite warmed that you would agree that Islam actually provides a way of life that is the best type of protection and nourishment for that child.
Could I add a caveat?
Yeah, of course.
That's the best.
With the breakdown in Christian society and the rejection of God and the westernization and the secularism, I'm also aware that does have encroachers in Islam, because I was talking to, like you, a young Muslim chap there, and we were having a great discussion, and I said to him, do you go to mosque? He said, no, I'm an atheist. Right? And I said, does your dad know you're an atheist? And he said, no. And he carried on talking. He had another brother, and I said, does he go to mosque? And he said, yes. He said, he's an atheist too. And there were 3 brothers all going to the mosque, who were all atheists, and the dad thought they were still Muslims. I said, could I ask you how this happened? He said, the internet.
Yeah.
So this is. I mean, rather than us go down and scoring points, we all suffer from this.
I just want to add something.
Please. I want to hear what you're going to say.
We were just discussing this. I think it's one of the. Can I ask what the ethnicity was
of what?
That person?
I wouldn't know. Pakistan, I think.
Pakistan. Yeah, we were just discussing that in our culture. We have, you can find that, sometimes we sort of force religion, and we don't sort of give that understanding, because sometimes we may not even have.
For sure, it's a superficial with no roots.
It's more culture rather than religion.
I agree.
We would teach culture, thinking that it's Islam.
Yes.
And then what happens is we don't entertain questions, Islamic questions. I've seen families.
Go on.
If they ask you, young people, if they ask questions, they go to school here, they ask about evolution. You would just shut them up.
What, so they don't even talk about it?
Not even talk about them. Unless, I think it's changing. It's changing.
But it's changing out of necessity. It's changing because there is an overwhelming need now to combat this movement.
Yes.
And it is a movement.
It is, it is.
And it's a very fundamental, aggressive, brainwashing type of movement.
We're talking about the LGBT, woke, transgender,
absolutely,
all of these kind of
absolutely.
things. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I read a story yesterday of a 52-year-old man who identifies as a 12 or 13-year-old girl who's allowed to compete in swimming with 12 and 13-year-old girls. And the mothers of the girls are holding towels around their daughters because they have to get changed with a 52-year-old man.
No. Well, you know what? This is why
Right?
one of the things I would say to
This is what's happening.
Another thing I bring down here are school deregistration notices. I say, if you know what's going wrong in the world and you choose to send your child out the door to enter into those flames that could take your child to hell, on Judgment Day, your religion will stand against you. So I say, fill this in. Send it to your school, withdraw your school, join a Facebook homeschool groups and things like that. Do whatever you can to rescue your child.
Protect your children.
If I hadn't had that innocence that God allowed me to vivify me, I would never have known I was lost. And this is what the devil wants to do. He wants to drag down the age limit so that the only waking memories an adult has of a defilement.
That's right.
So they don't never know they're lost, so they can
right.
never turn to God again because they're blackened. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Well, this is where society is going, unfortunately.
It really, really is. And that's why homeschooling, separation from this system, to not allow the evil one anywhere near your family home and the minds of your children. And then once they've had that innocence, they can go out into the world, because innocence is your best defense against sin. Because when you taste the sin, it tastes like poison because you've had innocence. If you've never had that innocence, you dive in, don't you?
We have this culture where we say that Hidayah is like
Guidance.
guidance.
Oh, I've heard that.
Is given by God alone. Like, I used to be from a different sort of sect.
Oh, could you tell me? Yeah, what were you? You're a Sunni Muslim.
I am a Sunni Muslim, of course, but within Sunnism, there are like
Some minor sects that do visit graves or things like that.
Sure.
I thought it was just Shia that did that.
There are some minor sects within Sunnism
all right,
that
yeah.
also
So you-
they visit graves. They believe in saints. It's a bit like Catholicism.
Okay, yeah.
It's a little bit like Catholicism, where a saint can intercede.
Okay.
Even a dead saint can intercede.
And you were there.
I was part of it. I was following it blindly because I felt that connection. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes we sort of believe our experience. And this is what I feel as well, that at times if you want to research,
Yeah.
don't